And there are two big lessons for me from the last few months. I think the first is that I massively underestimated the challenge of building a new, fully fledged party like Change UK in the midst of a national political crisis, and attempting to do so at the same time as running a national election campaign like the European elections. And Vince, who'd always pointed this out to me, is one of those "I told you so" moments. He was right to point out the importance of having an existing party infrastructure with long-standing relationships with hundreds of thousands of voters. And obviously that was a massive factor in the success of this party, not just in the local elections, but the European elections too. I think the second lesson is this. There is no doubt that under our first-past-the-post electoral system, which, by the way, needs to be dumped and replaced with a system of proportional representation, in my view. And before people say, well, you're just saying that now because you're a Liberal Democrat, I was saying that when I was in the Labour Party. But we're saddled with this unfair, undemocratic system. And it's clear in that system that's used for Westminster elections that there is only space for one main progressive Liberal centre ground offer. And that is clearly the Liberal Democrats, in my view. So what more was stopping me from joining, accounting for the last two things I've just mentioned? I'll be honest, I found it hard to come to terms with the impact of the public spending cuts, which were instigated by the Conservative Liberal Democrat coalition of 2010 to 2015. And as you would expect, the comments I made then as a shadow business secretary are doing the rounds as I speak. In fact, they're probably getting more of an airing now than when I first said them. Now, I didn't disagree about the need to reduce the public sector debt and deficit. Indeed, Labour's last Chancellor, Alistair Darling, he accepted the need for that too. But I did disagree with the speed and severity of fiscal consolidation and the extent to which those cuts to public spending were borne mainly by public spending cuts as opposed to tax increases. Now, I would say, and I say this in particular to people who have before voted Labour or still do now, let me say this to you. 4 years on from this party's time in office, things have changed. The Liberal Democrats have voted against every single one of the Conservative budgets since 2015. This party stood on an anti-austerity manifesto in 2017, for example, with commitments to end the public sector pay cap, increase tax to pay for the NHS, reversing cuts to housing benefit, universal credit, and so on. And senior figures in this party, including Vince, have said that although the party curbed George Osborne's worst excesses, things like the bedroom tax should never have been allowed to be introduced. And of course, people have accepted a major mistake was made in making them breaking that pledge on university tuition fees. And I don't see any of that type of thing happening ever again. But most importantly, the biggest impediment to ending austerity currently is pressing on with Brexit. In every Brexit scenario, tax receipts will be hit hard, depriving the exchequer of much-needed revenue to invest in public services. Both Labour and the Conservatives are committed to facilitating Brexit, and you cannot end austerity and sponsor Brexit. That is absolutely clear. And I am proud to be a member of a party that was committed to a people's vote and remaining in the European Union right from the start. Now, I suspect that those who are going to be most critical of the decision that I have made will be many of those that I left behind in the Labour Party. The question they must answer now is this: if they are committed to ending austerity too, continued support of a party leadership committed to Brexit cannot enable you to end austerity. Privately, many accept this. And they also know that visceral hatred of people who don't share your views, of the West, there's of course the anti-Semitism too, They know that is commonplace in Labour circles. They abhor the bullying, the behaviour by supporters of their leadership, as much as they abhor the fact that that leadership tacitly sanctions this. So, in its words and deeds, Labour is not being true to the progressive values that I believe in. They're not being true to the progressive values that many Labour people believe in, and many Labour people know that. We all do. And I say to them, particularly the Social Democratic centre-left, there is a home for you. It is the Liberal Democrats.